Welcome to this inaugural episode of Real Talk, information about the Pennsylvania real estate market. My name is Brian Walbridge, and with me,
I'm Teresa Palmer.
We are both licensed real estate agents here in Pennsylvania, working for Coldwell Banker Hearthside in Collegeville. So I figured what we would do today, Teresa, is let's just start out by talking about the current state of the market in Pennsylvania.
Sounds great.
So one of the things I'm seeing right now is that the market's not crashing, but it's not booming either. It's normalizing, right? So let's start out with home prices. All right, what are we seeing as far as home prices are concerned?
Well, our new construction is definitely going out the roof, that's for sure. But we see that our resales are pretty much holding steady. We're having your typical appreciation at this point. And what do you think that is? What did we found is about 4%?
Yeah, actually, year-over-year growth in home prices is about 5 to 6%. We're looking at a median price in the state of Pennsylvania around $300,000 to $310,000. All right, so obviously that varies based on geographic region. There's different economic classes that can impact those numbers.
Right.
And certainly the home size, 4-bedroom versus 3-bedroom versus 2-bedroom, all those play a factor. But yeah, median price around $300,000. Prices didn't drop, right? But they stopped accelerating, right? Which is good news for buyers.
Yeah, it's definitely good news for buyers. We do see that now that we do have a little bit of a downturn, a reduction in the interest rates, which is great for buyers. We'd like to see it come down some more, but it's actually the lowest level in 3 years now. Compared to last year this time, our 30-year fixed rate is actually at about 6.37 compared to about 6.87 last year. And just to throw that out there for anyone that may still be paying a high rate, even if you've only been in your house a couple years, you have refinance options. It's not really quite like what it was traditionally, where people thought, oh, we have to wait a certain amount of years to refinance. So that's something that we can certainly help you with if anyone's in that situation.
And that's a good segue because in future episodes, we're actually going to bring in one of our loan origination officers, Darcy Turman, who's going to talk more about that process. Talk to me about inventory. Where are we looking at right now in Pennsylvania?
Well, the inventory is definitely getting a little better, but we definitely would like to see it speed up a bit. But it is improving. We are seeing homes on the market a little bit longer. It's helping buyers with eliminating this buying a home with no inspection and waiving all their contingencies. So that is a good trend. We just we're hoping it's going to pick up the pace a little bit as far as inventory, but I do not believe that we're even at 2 months inventory yet. Is that correct, Brian?
That's correct. In fact, the average days on the market right now is between 45 and 70 days, compared to during that COVID bubble, where it was like 10 to 15 days in the market.
Right. You couldn't even get past the open house.
Yeah, and you don't have to write the offer in the driveway at this point anymore.
Right.
Yeah. But again, the factors involved there. I just wrote an offer this weekend. A couple went in, saw the open house, and it was a pretty quick turnaround. So there's still pockets of areas that are advantageous for buyers, and that certainly increases the draw.
Yeah, we have to have the competitive offer, have a strategic way of thinking with your realtor, when you put those offers in. So
absolutely. And there's so many factors involved, who you're going up against in those bids, cash offers versus mortgage contingencies. All those will play a factor in whether or not you get the deal.
Yeah.
Which actually brings us around to sales activity. right now we're looking, sales as of right now in 2026 is down about 5% year over year. So it's a more intentional market that we're seeing in Pennsylvania. And it's not a matter of a weak demand. There are just literally fewer transactions, but we see a trend up, particularly now that the weather's turning. We just had a couple 90-degree days, so you're going to see activity certainly go up.
Yes, and it was a brutal winter here in Pennsylvania, so that had an impact on the market, on the spring market. We got a little bit of a late start.
And that actually, that all those things, combined factors, inventory, days on the market and sales activity, that sort of causes this market type to fluctuate, particularly in terms of asking price. We're seeing right now 30% over asking is the going costs. I mean, that's pretty significant. Let me rephrase that. 30% of the deals are over asking price, not that they're 30% over asking price. 30% of the deals are over asking price. And only 25% of them were price reductions, right? So, it's a thinking market right now, basically. So again, we'll see what the summer brings, but that's what we're seeing in the marketplace right now. And as I mentioned earlier, there's a geographic regional aspect to this. So Philadelphia and its suburbs are still highly competitive, right? Delaware County, Montgomery County, Chester County, Berks County, the area that we service. It's still a competitive marketplace. It's a sought after, particularly the school districts.
Yes, definitely.
Perk Valley, Springford, Phoenixville. What's interesting is where we are compared to what we saw during the COVID bubble, right? So rates back then were averaging around 2.5% to 3%, where right now we're over 6%. My wife and I actually refinanced our house during that time because we got such a good finance. There's bidding wars everywhere, right? You didn't really have that during that COVID bubble. We still see a lot of waived inspections. I just wrote one last weekend with the waived inspections. You didn't have that back then. So it's we're still climbing, but it's a different landscape now than it was just 5 years ago.
The good news, though, is that there's more vehicles that buyers can take advantage of, as well as sellers, and that's where we want to move on to in some of our next episodes. Is if you're thinking of selling and you just really don't know where you're going to go, how you're going to navigate that. A lot of people, I think, are just not making a move because they don't have the information. And the same thing with buyers. We're going to talk about in some future episodes, so we hope you tune in. There's a lot of products out there and different ways that buyers can navigate getting into a home when they just really don't know how to do that today because of the way this market is.
So what it really comes down to is, on behalf of Teresa and the office staff here in Collegeville, we are here to help you through your journey, whether you are buying a home or selling a home or both. We're here to help you. We certainly want to work with you, but always go after a licensed professional in this industry.